Good morning, Little Black Rain Cloud community. Today's episode, you probably already saw the disclaimer, but we're going to say it again. Today's topic is about taking your own life or knowing somebody who has taken their own life. So if you need to turn the podcast off now because there's young ears, delicate ears, please do that now. We try and be as kind and compassionate to our viewers as possible, but with this particular topic, there's some very dark stuff, and we want to make sure that everybody is aware of that. Also, if you like the podcast, let's go ahead and subscribe. As you've heard Cappuccino say previously in other episodes, ding that bell and follow us on our journey into the storm. All right, let's jump off today. We want to say thanks to our producer man over there, Mr. Jones.
Thank you. Welcome to be here.
So we've got a couple of guests lined up for you today, but I want to start this by showing you something that completely blew my mind. So we'll get into the specifics, but in 2013, my own dad took his life, and the how does not matter, but he took his own life. And I immediately decided I needed to jump into some form of therapy, group therapy, some survivors group. The group was called SOS. It was Survivors of. And the very first day, it was like a week after he had passed. The very first day, there was a demonstration of what grief looks like. Now, obviously, with grief, you hear about the 5 stages of grief. You start with denial, disbelief, and then you go through bargaining, and you go all the way down to acceptance. Now, do I think that that's true for everybody? No, I don't. But that being said, I think the grief that comes from somebody who pardon me, took their own life, that stream of grief looks completely different. So let me show you, and I hope they show up on the green screen because, oh, good, none of them are green. So there are 5 stages. Here's one. Nice little balls of yarn, things that are completely discernible from each other. Here's your 5 stages of grief. Look, guys, I brought crafts. Cool. Kind of looks like Easter on my table now. So that is the stream of grief. Let me show you what it looks like when you're grieving somebody who took their own life. This is what that looks like. It's spaghetti. There are, oh, look, here's bargaining. Oh, look, here's acceptance. Because it could happen all in the same day. It could happen never. It could happen over and over and over. It could really look like anything. And the color I put in the most was purple because that's anger. Because for me, that's the strongest of the emotions. And there should be other colors in here because there seems to be emotions that don't have names that all of a sudden are just in this spaghetti. So now that I have completely dismantled a Muppet, that's what's happening here. Taking the crafts off the table. So I'm actually going to introduce one of our guests first. We are going to jump into meeting. Hold on, I've got crafts just piling up on the table. We're going to jump into meeting somebody that has actually known me forever. She went to high school with me. She is absolutely fantastic. When she got her first tattoo, I was like, man, I need to up my game because she looks rad. So, and now we're competing for full body. I think we're evenly matched now, but I mean, she's got some sick ink. She is mom of 6. She is a fantastic gal. I love her dearly. Her name is Krystal, and let's bring Krystal on. Krystal, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can. Okay. So obviously this is for you, this is a fairly new club that you're in. I'm sorry that you're in this club with us. Do you want to just take it from here and kind of explain where you're at, how you're feeling, There's no real great way to ask questions about this.
So I am almost 27, or 27. Yeah, right. I am almost 37, and as of November of this past year, my husband he self-exited. We were going through a really rough patch, and we probably in the 13 years that we were together, this would have been the rough patch we ever went through. He fought demons for many, many years. I think our
Uh-oh.
was a lot, and he couldn't take it anymore. So he took that. We would have conversations. He used to do therapy. He went to counseling. He did all the steps years before that. He stopped drinking, but at the end of the day, he couldn't. And the most crappiest part about it is it wasn't just I who found him. It was my daughter, our daughter together. She was 12. Later, right after my 12-year-old found her with me, literally was right next to me when we found him. Then my stepdaughter, who was almost 16 at the time, she was coming home and she saw him through the window because he had the window open. That day I will never forget, ever, because that day will constantly replay. The girls have started therapy. They don't necessarily like it. I don't push them, and I've lost contact with my stepdaughter. I have a stepson. He's 19. We have a really close relationship. I'm close with all my kids, but the biggest thing of the downfall of losing their dad is that I don't have contact with my 16-year-old. Her mom won't let me, so that's probably another big thing. I took 2 weeks off of work. Everybody said they didn't think that was enough. And for 2 weeks, all I did was basically, other than plan the funeral, put everything together with the help of my sister, and his name was Matthew, Matt's dad. I literally laid there for 2 weeks, or hung out with the kids, and we just laid there together and cried. Now, almost 7 months later, I randomly cry, and it's the most randomest things ever. A patient can mission somebody, because I work in healthcare. You talk about them like they're still here. Here's even a better one. Father's Day just passed. I was on FaceTime with my oldest. He's almost 21. And we talked about it.
He can't be 21 because we are 27. There's no way he's that old. We didn't graduate high school that long ago.
They live in Oregon. They moved away after they became adults.
Yeah.
And he even said that this was the first Father's Day where, it really hurt him, because he's so used to having his dad around that it was such a change for him. He felt nauseous. He cried. He just, he's so used to just things happening. He's like, Mom, you're my best friend. He's like, I love you. He's like, but I love my dad too. And the one thing, I can't just call him and let him know things. And I was like, it's crazy, right? I got a promotion at work recently, and he would have been the first person that I would have called before my best friend.
Yeah.
To you know what I mean? So, you can't call, you can't text, and that person is, the first person you go to. And that has probably been another big change in life, is you don't get those daily texts, calls, FaceTime, checking up on each other, and then you're left to just wonder why. Because at the end of the day, there was no note that was left. So me and my kids will never have that closure of why. Like
Well,
I kind of know why, but at the same time, I never got the closure that I think that we might have needed to heal more.
so I don't know if this will help at all. I hope it does. But you knew my dad. I mean,
Yeah.
all through high school, my dad was the weirdest character ever. But you knew my dad. He wrote 17 pages of a note. I mean, he wrote he wrote a Bible. It was huge. And I still don't know why. And I still don't have closure. So there was a lot of rambling for him because I think for him the light at the end of the tunnel was an oncoming train, for lack of a better, adage. And you're right. As obviously, I did not lose my spouse, but in the perspective from your kids, they're much younger than I was. I was 25 when mine passed, but I can tell you, as the child of somebody who took their own life, there isn't a time I that I don't wonder, was this my fault? Could I have stopped this? What did I do wrong? Why didn't he love me enough? And those are the questions nobody wants to talk about. Every good memory I have of my dad has now been stained red. Every good thing about his life comes with this looming feeling over it. And all I can say is, you're right, the therapy is important, but obviously pushing it isn't going to help. But if they can start to understand what mental health really does to a person, that the person that made that decision wasn't necessarily the same person they're associating with all of those good memories. My dad, all of the good things about my dad would never have ever made me feel the way that I do right now. But the dad that decided to end it, that decided that this was the decision he was going to make, was in so much pain and felt that he was causing me and my mom so much pain that it would be better to remove the pain, not realizing that ultimately it just caused more pain. It was like the ultimate, for lack of a better term, the ultimate clusterfuck, because he said, I'm going to remove this pain, but now the only person that could take my pain away now is the person who caused it in the first place. So now we've got this weird, paradox of problems. So I kind of want to hear the others. There's another perspective from another one of our well, welcome to the Little Black Rain Cloud Chronicles, by the way. You are now a rain cloud. So hang out, don't go anywhere. And by the way, the first thing I'm going to do the next time I get to Vegas, I'm hugging you, and then we're going to a rage room. And we're breaking everything in sight. So hang out. I will be right back. Well, you'll be right back. We're going to introduce our next guest, our next rain cloud. His name is Jake. Jake has a very unique perspective on a lot of things. Jake is, for lack of a better explanation, Jake is who I think about in my head when I'm like, I need to make the right decision and not the I'm doing. So then I channel my inner Jake. So this is Jake. He's known me since, I want to say, right after my dad passed, which would have been like the 2014-15 era, or was it after that?
No, little later than that. We would have been around 2018. That's
Oh,
yeah. So sometime after that.
yeah. So this is Jake. Hi, Jake.
Hello. What do you want to know?
Uh, Jake, when you tell anything, I'm just sitting here at the edge of my seat
Yeah.
listening. But where do we start? I don't even know where to
I
start
don't
on.
even know. Yeah. It's gosh, one, thanks for having me. I think this is one of those topics that everyone kind of clams up about. And it's one of those topics that I feel really passionate about, because I've been on both sides of the equation. A little bit about my history. My childhood was less than um, less than what you would want for a childhood. Um, and at the age of 12, I was not in a good space. I had um, through no fault of anyone's really, other than just the way that the cards were dealt. I just didn't want to be around anymore, and I can still remember those feelings. And I tried to end things, and being 12, you aren't the best planner. Thank goodness for that. And I can remember the feelings of regret and shame and relief that things didn't play out the way that I had wanted them to. And life got better. It got so much better. Um, navigated the cluster that is high school and made it out okay, and grew into adulthood, and got married, and had my first son. I have tons of siblings. I have about 10 siblings. And I say about because if we add the hers, mine, ours, theirs conglomerate of family, it's about 15, but I don't know as many as others when you've got stepmoms and stepdads and real moms and real dads. My oldest brother um, was in a plane accident and severed his spinal cord when he was 6 years old, and suffered some pretty serious health issues from the age of 6 when that happened, for the rest of his life. And he tried to live the best possible life that he could. But when my oldest was 6 months old, my brother was really, really, really sick. Some of that was the product of the plane accident that he was in. And my brother-in-law and I went and took care of him one evening, and I went home to spend time with my family. And I would use the word promptings, had these feelings, these promptings to check in on my brother the next morning. And I was tired, I was busy at work, and I just ignored them. And went home after a long day at work and just went into my husband and fatherhood role. And I remember getting a phone call and finding out that my brother had decided to exit. And all of the feelings that I had had as a 12-year-old were brought back to the surface, and feeling really, this is the steps of grief, like compressed in like nanoseconds, and just dumbfounded and sad and depressed and frustrated and angry, which is one that's such an interesting emotion to feel in that circumstance. And I miss him to this day. That was 20, goodness, 22, 23 years ago. Um, and you would think that, having experienced both sides of the equation, that I would have a better understanding, a better grasp on my own mental health and my own foundations of life. But even as my life progressed, there was more turmoil, and I got to the point later in life where, and Hope, actually, this was in the middle of our working relationship that we had. And I didn't tell anybody about these things, but I got to the point where I was in that same mental state, but knowing better, like knowing the feeling of what that was like to be the survivor, knowing the feeling of what it was like to be left behind. and it still seemed like a logical choice. And it's something that I don't think as humans with the constructs that we have can fully grasp and understand what individuals are going through when they are in the process or have made that decision. It's a whole lot of rambling.
That was not rambling at all. That was processing.
Yeah,
Uh,
true.
I think you bring up an interesting point, though. You mentioned throughout all of that that you went back into fatherhood role, husband role.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't know for sure for your brother or for Krystal's husband, like what I obviously don't know what those thoughts there, at the end are or were. I can tell you that like, and maybe this is just, and I will say this that everybody processes different, everybody grieves different,
Yeah.
everybody feels differently. But for me, it's been several years. So we're talking 2013 for me. Obviously, that's a little bit of time. And I still battle with myself over on the left-hand side of my brain. It's saying you were the most important thing in your dad's entire world. You and mom were the entire world. And he loved you more than anything. He would have protected you till his dying day. All of these things. And this is what mental health awareness is, about. This is why it's so important to recognize why this is stuff we talk about and that this had nothing to do with me. That's what the left-hand side of my brain is saying. The right-hand side of my brain, however, is telling me, why wasn't I good enough for you to stay?
Gosh.
That's what my brain to this day says. But I know, and the rest of me knows, that side of my brain is the hurt little girl. That's what that is. But it doesn't change the feelings. It doesn't make them go away. And Krystal touched on it. The first person I wanted to call. Okay, hold on. Let me back that up. No, the first person I called was my mom, and that would not have changed. The second person I would have called when I got my degree was my dad. But he wasn't here to F and see it. And then I got mad all over again.
Yeah.
We got married. That was both times. The first time didn't matter as much. And if he's listening, I hope he knows that. But that's a whole nother episode.
It's a different episode. Move along.
But even then, there were things that my dad took from me. He didn't just take himself from me. My dad didn't walk me down the aisle either time. And my dad wasn't there when I graduated from college any of the times. And now I'm just doing it out of spite. My dad wasn't there to be pissed off at me when I got a full sleeve tattoo, because the first one I got, he almost took off with a cheese grater. He wasn't there when my mom had her heart attack. He's not there when I can't figure out how to put the damn spool in the weed whacker, because this is his job.
That's the most random, but that's so true. Yes.
And it's not Christmas that I miss him. I mean, it is,
Yeah.
but it's on the random Tuesday when I walk into a gas station and I see a Hershey's Symphony bar, the red one and the blue one, and I start crying, and I'm on the ground in the gas station, and the attendant doesn't know what's wrong with me, sitting on the floor with me with a box of tissues. And then when I leave, they give me the candy because they think I'm like mentally insane. Probably not far from the truth. But these are the little moments, like, oh, my dad would have found this really funny, or, just the little things. And I don't know, Jake, have you ever watched the show Doctor Who?
You know what? I haven't. I've never even seen an episode. I know you're going to judge me. Totally fine.
No judgment.
Okay,
No judgment.
Good.
So, there's an episode in I think it was the Matt Smith era, where the companion, her name's Clara, it was like her very first episode, she has this leaf. It's a maple leaf that was something, I think it was her mom or her dad gave to her before they were in a terrible, tragic accident and were gone. And this maple leaf was like super important to her. In the episode, there was like this sun. The sun was eating all of these memories from all these people because, you know, that's how it fed. And so she puts this leaf up and she said, this is the symbol of everything that should have been. And she throws the leaf at the sun, and the sun explodes because it was too many things for it to digest. There was unlimited potential in what could have been. Now, I watched this episode about 3 days after he passed. Oh, that was a nightmare. But but I understood it. I was like, the what would have been was bigger than everything that we had of what has already happened. And it's like messes with every good day. And can we actually pop Krystal back in to have all of us here? If it weren't for our producer back there, we would be so screwed.
Yeah, the man in the chair, right? He's the man in the chair.
He's the man behind the curtain.
Right.
I think
Can
that
I interject real quick? I think there's some interesting things. So for me, we all know grief is not linear. It's funny though that everyone seems to articulate the same or similar feelings. My brother didn't get to meet any of my kids except for Blake, and Blake was only 6 months. I didn't have my brother when I went through my divorce. Like my brother he was my very best friend. He was also a turd. He's an older brother, like he has to be. It's just that's what older brothers do. But I miss him on the monumental events when my children were born. I miss him on his birthday. I miss him. It tore me up to not have him at my second wedding. It we had Father's Day just the other day, and my dad didn't have, or excuse me, my brother didn't have any kids. But I love telling stories about my childhood, and every story that I shared, Kevin, my brother, was the highlight of the story because he was just there.
I
And
feel like that's something that we can all say, though.
yeah,
I knew Matt, Crystal's husband. He was funny. He was like legitimately funny. Like he had never met me, and he still came out to him and Krystal and the kids came out to when my husband Dustin did a kidney walk with the Kidney Foundation. He came out with everybody, and he was so supportive. He was like, "We're walking for kidneys. We're walking for kidneys." Like he was so upbeat, and he was always there. And there was so many things, and it's like you're saying the same thing, Jake. That Kevin was the life of those stories, and my dad, as much of a pain in the ass as he was the life of the story. He would walk into a room and light it up, and those are the people. The same thing, and we'll take it even to like for people who have never lost anybody in this fashion. Let's talk about Robin Williams. Robin Williams could make anything funny. He could make anything lighthearted. He could also do serious, but he also took his own life because of the demons he was battling. I mean, for Krystal and I, Lincoln Park was a staple of our experience. And to find out that Chester, somebody that could save us in our darkest moments, could not find the light himself. And I don't know how to explain it. There's you answer one question and then there's like 10 more that pop up. It's like crabgrass. It's like they never go away. And sometimes there are signs, but sometimes there are not. Like the person, that would never happen to that person. It's that person. I mean, Krystal said it best. He had done all the things. He had gone to therapy. He had, stopped drinking. He had really done the work, done the steps. And yet, what other steps could have been done? And we don't talk about it. There's no like Sesame Street doesn't talk about this. It did not prepare me for this. And then
Because
you
you
get,
don't ever think it's you. Like, you
yeah,
don't think that it's going to happen to your family. And, you know, one day, like, you see, like, I had seen him that morning. We had dropped Nikki off at the airport to go start his new chapter. He was leaving to move to Oregon to go be with his brothers. I saw him that morning. We talked at some point in the afternoon, and then I didn't hear from him at all, and that wasn't like him, right? So the next day I even like text him like, hey, do you want to go see Moana, since we decided we're going to do Thanksgiving on Friday versus Thursday to do it with his parents? You know, like, I didn't hear anything. And it was completely out of the ordinary. So when my stepdaughter was like, hey, you know, I haven't heard from Dad, I was like, okay, I'm going to go over to the house right now. And my 12-year-old who was with me, she was like, well, I'm going to go with you. And I was like, no, honey, you stay here. I was like, I'm just going to go run, and I'll be right back. No, Mom, I really want to go with you. Okay, fine. When I rolled up to the house, he worked graveyard too, nonetheless, okay? So for the lights not to be on in the house, that's not out of the ordinary. You know what I mean? But rolling up to the house that night, that, I kid you not, I already had that feeling. Like, something is wrong. I haven't heard from you. The lights are all off when I pulled up. I told Evelyn to stay in the car. She was like, no, I want to come in with you. I was like, no, just stay in the car. She was like, no, I want to come. So I didn't argue with her. You know, I walked into the house, and the second I walked into the house, there it was. And it was like your instincts kind of like take over. And once I realized what was going on, like I like shot back into my body and was like, oh my God, like, we gotta go. Like, I need you to get out of the house. Like, I have to call 911. Like, and you know, she started crying. I started crying. I'm on the phone with 911 and I'm like screaming. Like, I still have like the recording because the cameras, like, you hear me screaming. Like, the operator is like telling me to calm down. You know, she's like, are you outside the house? I'm like, yes. Like, I need help. And I don't ever call 911. It's rare. So that, like I told you, that night will stay in my mind forever. I feel bad for our 12-year-old that will be the last memory of her dad, other than at his funeral. That's what she walked in on with me, and I wish that I could take that part away, you know. But when you have kids, you don't. In the moment, you're just like, okay, I'm not gonna argue with you. Like, come with me.
yeah, there's no arguing with a 12-year-old.
Yeah, no, not a sassy one. You know what I mean? So I wish that I would have just told her no. But as you can tell, like, I told her no a few times. She was very like, no, I'm gonna go in with you. And that's just something we will always have, I guess. And the youngest, she just turned 11 in March. He missed her 5th grade graduation. Like I said, I randomly cry for the most random things. But now, almost 7 months later, we've gone through almost all the holidays. And each time, it's hurtful. I could definitely tell you that it is sad, because I spent 13 years, blended a family, had children, and now it's just me and the kids. You know, and technically it's just me and the 2 girls, since everybody lives somewhere else currently, you know, because they wanted to pursue living outside of Las Vegas, which is fine. I get it. You don't, you know, you leave, you come back, it happens. But you learn every day, like, I can do this. It's not going to define who I am, and it's okay to cry.
Oh, it's absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's repeat that again. It is okay to cry. Like
Oh yeah.
whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, whether you're young, whether you're old, whatever. Every person is allowed. You have every right to feelings, and nobody gets to tell you how you feel. That's the thing that totally blows my mind. Oh, you'll feel better once time passes. Jake, do you feel better now that all this time has
I,
passed?
I was I was just thinking about like time, and I dislike very much the adage of time heals all wounds. Um, I am at 20 plus years of not having my brother, and I would say my wounds are still there. The rock that I have in my heart of my brother not being there, it's the same size that it was from day one. But what's happened to me and in my heart, um, just because I was younger and I have grown in life, is my capacity to navigate the difficult is greater. My ability to love life, my ability to navigate hard, it the vessel to be able to do that is larger, but the rock is the same size.
I
And
think
I
scar
haven't
tissue comes over
healed.
that rock too.
Yeah, yeah. And so the pain is still there, but it's surrounded by I will use the words blessed. I'm a blessed man. I have 5 kids from my first marriage. I have 2 wonderful stepchildren. I have a beautiful wife. My life is great, but it all of that extra stuff has surrounded that rock of distress, that rock of grief. Hope, can I share the similarities between my two circumstances, where when I was younger and when I was older, and my decisions to
Yeah, yeah. I
uh,
That's what this podcast is about.
yeah.
And I don't know if you heard it in the first episode. Grief and trauma and all of that, they overlap. When I sent the list out to my trusted group of all the different episodes we were going to do, I said, "What do you identify with?" And most people went, "All of them."
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
oh shit. So yes, go for it.
This is my experience. These were my feelings. This does not mean that others have the same. And so I want to be really delicate with that. These are the pieces of similarities that I felt when I felt like I had no other option. And I'm going to do my best to describe this, because I'm putting this together as we're talking and realizing a few pieces. So this is me. This is therapeutic and cathartic for me too.
Welcome
Um,
to the
yeah,
show.
little black. I'm a little black rain cloud. Rain cloud. There's identity and value, and in both circumstances, for me, those two things began to pull apart, and I began to. It's almost like a toxic, cantankerous imposter syndrome came into place, where I am this person, but my value is that my perceived value is so detached from the identity of who I should be or who I am. And the further and further the perception of those two pieces, the identity and the value, became, the more distressed, the more logical an exit seemed to me. And
That
what
yeah.
I realized now, I won't say how old I am. You guys can be 27. I'm just not going to say how old I am, but I have no hair and my beard is gray, so you can make some assumptions. Um, but what I realized is I was navigating the feelings of my perceived identity and my perceived value, and not taking the time to understand my identity is is mine. My value is my perceived, but my value of how my kids see me is something that now matters to me more than it had before. And I know that seems weird to say that, but
No,
we're so concerned. I have been so concerned in my life of the identity and value piece, that when that gap became so wide, it was like, how could someone love me? How could that be possible? And realizing that they don't see that. They see Robin Williams, who is joyous and happy, or your husband that was there and engaged and light. And I think that's, for me, that chasm between the two is something that I wish I had the gusto to talk about with people. And I wish that, society was more accepting of having hard conversations like this, and having conversations about not just diagnosing mental health, but understanding the schism that takes place between what someone else may be navigating as logical and another person's logic and navigating that same thing. Again, I think I'm rambling again, but hopefully that
no,
gives us something.
you
Go
bring
ahead.
up something that I never really thought about, and the way that you put it into words. So I didn't really go into my dad. So because everybody knows my dad took his life. Everybody. It's not something I hide, because I originally thought this is such a taboo subject that if I don't bring it out, it happens again. We have to talk about it. But I didn't really get into what led up to that. So let's dive down that rabbit hole. So my dad, hold on. Am I allowed to say where he worked? Okay. My dad worked for Safe Nest, which is a domestic violence abuse, shelter thing in Las Vegas. He didn't work on the shelter side. He worked on the donation side, which collected all of the donations that were then turned around. They sold them to savers so that that money would fund the shelter for the women, children, and then they had a separate male shelter. So he was the director of operations for Safe Nest. That was his thing. Now, anybody that lives in Vegas, obviously, Krystal has heard about Safe Nest before. It's a well-known charity organization. So he worked there for years. We're talking 10 plus years. And he was also in charge. Now, if you get in trouble in Vegas and you're given community service, they send you to a charity to do the community service. So there was a woman who was given community service for solicitation. Welcome to Vegas. She went to Safe Nest to do her hours. My dad, now granted, my dad, and this is my own personal opinion because obviously I'm his kid, my dad wasn't drop dead gorgeous. He wasn't. Like, I don't know if my mom needed glasses at the time, what the thing was. I don't know, whatever. He was probably good looking to other people, just not me. But my dad was not inherently flirty. My dad, I remember being in a store with him at one point, and there was a woman that was like hitting on him in the grocery line. Apparently he was good looking. I don't know. And he was like, oh, she was a nice lady. And I'm like, Dad, she was hitting on you. He's like, no. I'm like, not entirely sure how I exist. Like, I think my mom might have tripped and fallen. I don't know. That being said, this individual that came for the community service hours wanted to work off the hours faster. Like, I'll do XYZ if you just sign this paper. And he legitimately did not know what she was asking. He was so dumbfounded. He's like, what kind of things? And she recorded this. And then she accused him of acting on these things and against her will. Now, anybody that knew my dad, Krystal, you knew my dad. That was not my dad. In a million years, my dad would never have Let's just say what it is. Essay. I don't know if I'm allowed to put that one out there. Is that okay? I'm still navigating the social media like trigger words. For the record, it's ridiculous social media. I hope you're listening. Read the First Amendment. Anyway, my dad would never have assaulted anybody, and consent was a huge thing for him. Like that would never have happened. My dad was a lot of things. He could be a son of a bitch, but he would never have done that. And she accused him. He was arrested at his work. And I remember the news being at my house, and they were like, we're going to put a hotline at the bottom. You know, if you've been assaulted by this man, call this number. The news accosted me in my driveway. They're like, did it happen to you? And I left my car running in the driveway to run inside while I was like contemplating going on a killing spree because these people were in my driveway. They were upsetting my mom. My grandfather was not in great health. He was having a whole coronary, and they turned our lives upside down. They were everywhere for a long time. Finally, we had to go stay. My dad at this point is still in jail. My mom and I had to pack it up and go to my grandparents' house because we were afraid to be at home. The media had made it very clear where we lived. Like, thanks, Channel 8. The Las Vegas Review-Journal, he was on the front page twice. It was a whole slew of things. And my dad was not necessarily my dad's identity for himself. He was a very proud man of the character he had. That he was a stand-up guy, that he did the right thing, that he would do the necessary things in the face of wrong. And those kind of things were taken from him when accusations came out. So then, jumping forward, I sold just about everything I owned to be able to bail him out of jail, which was interesting. He had only been there a week. Now, he must not have been eating because he was like super skinny by the time he got out. He was already thin, but he was even more skinny. So we're going to cover this again in the SA episode. But if something happens to you, absolutely come forward. We have to speak truth to this problem, and we have to make it okay to talk about that. But also, if you're going to accuse somebody of doing something they didn't do, you're the worst type of person. And Dante wrote a whole book about you. Like, F you and everything you say. So exactly what Jake was talking about. This is who my dad was. And this is what the media and everybody started to think about him was over here. And the divide really kind of leaning towards one because, oh, there's no way she would have been lying because you can't say that. Because, oh, then that means you can't believe anybody. No, why are we so polarized in believing that somebody can't tell a lie for self-gain? But that's, anyway, moving. That's another episode. So my dad, he came home from jail. I picked him up, and he attempted the first time. It was actually February 13th. He tried the night before, and we found him on Valentine's Day, sleeping, because, you know, he doesn't know how to Google what would have worked. But don't do that. Don't do that. But at first, I was so angry that he would even attempt it that I almost did the opposite of what I could have done. I was like, you want to be dead? I'm going to treat you like you're dead. That's what I said to him. That was literally the last thing I said to him it was February 19th. And we had these chairs that were on wheels. They were obnoxious, that rolled for the dining room table. And he pulled one up to the table, and I took it away from him and I rolled it into the other room. And I said, dead people don't eat dinner with us. If you want to be dead, I'll act like you're dead. I'll treat you like you're dead. And then I walked out of the house and I never saw him again. So that's a regret I get to carry forever. But he succeeded in taking his own life the next time. And he took my mom's car that morning super early, because none of us are early people. I wasn't even awake. Like I might not have even been home for a half an hour by the time he left. He took the car and he drove out. We found out later he had gone all over the place, but he ended up on the side of I-15 out by a Valley of Fire, by that really cool reservation that they have all the fireworks that you can legally buy and not bring back into the city. And that's where he took his life. And I almost found him. Thank goodness that Highway Patrol found him first. And then I got the call driving back from Valley of Fire, and I knew what the call was going to be. It was, we found him. And he left a note on him that said, "Call my wife," with her phone number. And I don't know why that struck so much anger for me. Call my wife and tell her what, Dad? Tell her what? That I'm out here on the side of the road, that they had to scrape me off the side of the road with a spatula because it's the summer in Vegas almost. It's February. It's already warm. Like, what do you want me to tell your wife? You tell your wife. You fucking do it. So then shortly after, ended up in the group where I learned about this thing. And several years later now, it doesn't, as you can hear, doesn't sound like I'm healed. Didn't read the letter until about 2 years ago. It took that long to read the 17-page manifesto. And I have more questions now than I had before. I don't know that I will ever truly not be angry, but I will say a lot of my anger has turned into "I miss you." Just for the simple fact that, like, there are just things that you should be here for. So when Jake's talking about, like, that schism, that, like, the difference between perceived value, I think for him, because we were going through a trial. We were going through the court case of our lives where he was being accused of everything imaginable. And what the media made him look like, what his own family, not immediate family, but his brother and his uncle and all of that side of the family thought of him, killed him before he ever did it himself. So that light at the end of the tunnel really was an oncoming train. And he thought that he could end all of that suffering for us. Now, did he manage to get us out of a court case? Yeah. He succeeded in what he was trying to do. I don't think he ever saw the long term of what that was going to be. It was a immediate problem right here, but didn't think 10 years down the road what that was going to look like. He must have thought me and Mom were pretty kick-ass and strong if he thought we could do life without him. Go ahead, yeah.
All right. So I've known people, but not really close, right, who have ended their own life, finished things. So all of us don't know our COD or our checkout date. And death is incomprehensible. Right? Unless you've had a near-death experience. But what we've come to terms with, or what we've been programmed for, is die of cancer. Okay, I can accept that. Die of heart attack.
Old age.
I can accept that. Yeah. Die of old age. I can accept that. Die of suicide, right? Is we have to find a blame for the end of a life.
Right.
And to me, what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, and what I'm feeling is we don't know, right? It is a type of death, right? However, our good Catholic upbringing and everything gives us guilt and says, "Oh, you shouldn't, all this good stuff." But it's, I a good friend, burned up in a car accident. No, I can accept that, right? But the hard part, wrap my brain around without having somebody that close, whose life has ended that way, is there's a bunch of anger. There's a bunch of, I don't know, why would you? How could you? How do the three of you operate or get around that? Because it would be a never ending merry-go-round for me on a daily basis.
I don't know about the other two, but let's have them answer. But for me, how do you navigate? You don't. You just exist. Well, this is something I definitely wanted to touch on. If you're a parent and you're listening to this, your job as a parent obviously is to teach and guide and nurture and all that. But your number one thing, if your kids are on the playground and they fall and scrape their knee, your first instinct is, oh my gosh, are you hurt? I'm so sorry. Let's make the pain stop. Do not, I repeat, do not be the cause of their pain. You will never fix that pain. So I know when people talk about, oh, I want to end it. Oh, we love you so much. Please don't. You're so important. We love you. Don't go. No, you stupid motherfucker. You are going to ruin the lives of your children. Like, don't do that. Yeah. It's your loved ones. Your wife will never understand fully. Your brother will never understand fully. Your daughter will never understand fully. Don't cause the pain. So how do we function? I'm not sure that I am functioning when it comes to that, but there's a lot of rage rooms. There is a lot of therapy, and there is a lot of weird notions. This was something I had to learn how to explain in therapy when they said, well, how are you feeling about that? In a very gestalt therapy kind of way. They said, how does that make you feel? And you get nervous because you want to say things like, I'm not mad he did it. I'm mad he didn't take me with him. And then you're like, no, I don't. But you don't know how to express that. Had my dad said, I really cannot continue with this, and he asked me to help him, I don't know that I would have said no. Because he was in so much pain. But then I would have had something to justify it to. He just didn't say anything. You just ceased to exist. And that's the part I can't come to terms with. And I don't know if that's how it feels for you, Jake, or Krystal. Somebody pick one of you. Pick to go. Somebody go.
Krystal, go ahead.
My kids are my biggest motivation. One thing that I hear all the time, and I can't still wrap my head around it, is I always hear you're strong. All the time. And I tell everybody, well, it's who I have to be, because I can't stop my life or stop living for my kids or stop working to provide or do anything. I did. I took that 2 weeks off. I agree with some people I shouldn't have come back so as quickly as I did, but I had to. I couldn't just lay there and just pity and overthink and just not live. So I can tell you now that, like I said, crying, there's nothing wrong with crying. I cry. I get up every day. I live life more now, I think, than I did at first. And my kids can tell, because I don't want us to live in the darkness. I don't want us to feel that we weren't enough. I've explained to my kids that, you guys know that your dad lived in that darkness. He had those evil things. He had those demons. And there, at the end of the day, there was nothing that we could do. It didn't matter how much love our family was. You watched our family grow for years. There was nothing that we could have done to stop what was going to happen. And at his funeral, as we're closing his casket and we're crying, I just kept telling my kids, your dad loved you so much. Your dad loved you so much, over and over again, because he did. He loved him. He was a great dad. And I made sure that my kids got his ashes. They have a piece of him. If they want to talk about him, I'm there. whether it's good, bad, like I'm there to listen because we all had the same tragedy happen. But I told my kids I don't want us to stop living because that's not how your dad would have wanted us to be. And I tell them that I'm truly convinced that he's at peace. Because people who come into my house, they've even said, like, even my sister is like, not like fully like a medium or anything, but she could feel things. And the first time she stepped into my house, she was like, I don't feel him. And I was like, I I don't feel him either. That's how I know. Like I sat where he passed away crying that first night, just like why? But as time has gone on, I'm like, no, I know that you are at peace. I'll never know why the tragedy happened, but I know in my heart that you're happy now. Because now you got to free all those demons. You lose out kind of technically watching our children grow up with me, but I know that you're happy. As shitty as that sounds, excuse my language, I know that you're happy.
Your language is not a problem. Fuck, I say it all the time. Um, but no, you said it right there that when people say, "Oh, you're so strong," what other option do I have? I didn't see another option. There isn't one. I have to be. So, Jake, do you want to jump in?
Gosh, there's so much going through my head right now. So to answer the question, like what's the difference between navigating the finality of someone who dies of old age or cancer or a tragic accident or um, deciding to exit on their own accord? F- For me, it's, and I hope, I think you touched on it. It's the abrupt end. I think of the individuals that I've lost in my life where I've known that they were declining in health, and I can navigate that tragedy over time, and I can navigate it a little bit each day instead of having it crammed down my throat in a moment. And if I think of the hardest ones, the hardest losses for me to navigate are the ones that it's immediate. There's no warning, whether it's a traffic accident and they're just on their way to work, or whether it's that that decision to exit on their own. For me, when it's immediate with no warning, that's the difficulty. I want to. I I'm a man of faith. That's how I navigate it. Um, I believe there's an Almighty God. I believe that even in tragedy, that He is at the helm, and I have learned to trust Him. Some of the greatest blessings and skills and strengths that I have in my life have come from um, tragedy. And I know that sounds bizarre, but I've, in each time, in each experience, and I've had to sit there and go, I just can't. I just can't do this. And and every time I have done that and turned it to Him, He has taken what I am able to do, what I'm able to navigate, and what I'm experiencing, and He is um, eventually and continually sanctifying it to make it, I won't say healed or better, but to make it something of value, that it's
Yeah.
not just a vacancy, that there's something there. I want to add one more thing, because the one thing that I learned from losing my brother is to act on feelings that I have. And I If I ever have this thought of I need to say this, or I need to talk to this person, or I need to do whatever, I do it because I don't want to feel that piece again. That's the bargaining and the regret piece. For anyone that may be listening, whether you're uh, someone who believes in creation, or whether you're someone who believes in evolution or Big Bang, if you are an individual that believes in evolution, you're literally made up of the same particles, the same pieces as stars. Like, you're literally celestial, because that's how cosmic recycling works. We are beings created and evolved from the stars. Or whether you believe in creationism, you are created with purpose and divinity. Either way, our value is something that we cannot fully comprehend. And for me, that has helped me shore up the difference between the identity and the value piece, is that my value is perceived differently by other people based upon my interactions from them, but my true intrinsic value is unchanged. It is constant. It is always, whether I am fulfilling my role as a husband, a father, a friend, an employee, an employer. That divinity, that celestial nature that I have, is unchanged. And that's everybody. That's not just me. That's Krystal. That's Hope. That's the whoever the dude is that's talking in my ear every once in a while. Like, whoever's listening, that is who we are. And just never, it's hard, but never question that value, because my perspective, Jake personally, I am a divine creation from an almighty being. And that will never, ever change. That is a constant, eternal piece of my life and existence.
I could not agree more. That takes the value and separates it from everything to be above everything. So at the end of the day, bottom line, above everything, but bottom line, your value was determined before any of these demons got here. Your value was determined before any of the trauma happened. Your value is not determined by the things that have happened to you, but the things that happen to you can only add to your value. What I hear from Krystal and from Jake is that all of these traumas are now things that they're able to speak about. And do I think it's wonderful that they happen? No, absolutely not. But do I think that that is going to bring perspective to other people? And when I say, as a parent, if you're feeling this way, you're going to hurt your kids. If that saves one child from losing a parent, then everything that happened to my dad might be worth it. Might be worth it. So, okay. We could, this is one of those topics where we could literally make an entire season of.
Yes.
But first and foremost, in the group that I had started going to, SOS, the first thing they make you do is say their name. Do we feel okay with saying everybody's name? And just so that we know that their existence mattered. I'll go first. My dad took his own life in February of 2013. His name was Benedetto Joseph Vitale, and he had value. If you want to, you can add. It's okay if you don't want to.
Oh, sure. Matthew Ramon, or was it? Oh my goodness. Matthew Ramon Jonathan Magdelano. Self-exited. Amazing dad on November 24th of 2024. And he left not only me behind, but his 6 children. And he will forever be remembered.
Absolutely.
Forever.
Kevin Dale Sparks. He was my older brother and my best friend and my hero. And he lives forever because I will never stop telling the stories of Kevin. He is the most amazing person I've ever met.
Absolutely. If you are listening to this and you are feeling that a self exit or taking your own life is lingering in your thoughts, please look at the description. The hotline will be listed. There will be resources listed in the description. Please reach out to somebody. Please don't go. There's no other way to say it. Just don't go. But until next week, we are the Little Black Rain Clouds of the Little Black Rain Cloud Chronicle. Thank you guys for being here today. If you liked us, like, share, subscribe. And in the comments or in the description, you'll see ways to contact Jake. He's also a motivational speaker and does a lot of things. Trust me when I say he does good work. So if you want to reach out to him to have him help you in your life, please look for him in the description. We will also share that on the socials. And thank you to 216 for everything you do.
Okay. So run it by me again. You're thinking of having a podcast, right? But maybe you don't know how to start a podcast, or maybe you don't know what platform to be on. I know. There's a lot. But maybe you also don't know what kind of budget you'll need, right? Okay. Well, how about this? 216 Creator Studios. Ring a bell? Okay, well, here. There you can buy a pre-built show. Or, better yet, you could build your own show. Have all the creativity in the world. And the best part about that, it can be all done within your budget. So, no worries. How about this? Start here. Just go to 216creatorstudios.com. And I guarantee you, they will help you find your voice.